Hi, this is Monica Reinagel, and you're listening to the Nutrition Diva's quick and dirty tips for eating well and feeling fabulous. Knock, knock. Who's there? Milk. Milk who? Just milk. Horizon Organic was the first company to make organic milk available nationwide. From organic milk from cows that are raised kindly without the use of growth hormones or antibiotics to super cheesy mac and cheese, Horizon makes food that kids love with ingredients that parents love too. Look for the Horizon red carton of milk in your dairy section and visit horizon.com to see what else Horizon has to offer families. That's horizon.com. Kathy writes, the claims for intuitive eating, that I could eat whatever my body craves and eventually lose weight, sound too good to be true. However, the book I'm reading is very convincing. What's your take? Well, Kathy, I think a lot depends on how you define intuitive eating. Tracy Tilka is a psychologist on the faculty of Ohio State University, and she and her colleagues have developed and refined something that they call the intuitive eating scale, which assesses things like how much you rely on your internal hunger and satiety clues to decide when to eat and when to stop eating, as well as your tendency to eat for emotional rather than physical reasons. And numerous studies have shown that people who score higher on the intuitive eating scale are less likely to be overweight, and they're more likely to be happy with their bodies and their lives in general. Being self-aware and mindful really can help us make better choices about food. However, some people have taken this idea of intuitive eating much further, arguing that the body knows what it needs and that cravings for food are a signal that our bodies need nutrients found in these foods. The implication is that if we can just become sufficiently attuned to our bodies, we can eat whatever we desire because we will only desire what we need. I'm not so sure. An appetite for a certain food could sometimes be due in part to a need for certain nutrients, but cravings are not really a very reliable guide to our nutritional needs. People suffering from iron deficiency frequently have an irresistible desire to chew on ice cubes, for example. Ice, however, does not contain a substantial amount of iron. I think this theory also dangerously discounts how powerfully our desires and appetites are affected by environmental and psychological cues. Intense cravings can be triggered when we see images of appetizing foods or a delicious aroma wafts across our path, even if we aren't remotely hungry the moment before those triggers appear. Cinnabon isn't pumping that cinnamon roll fragrance into the mall by accident, you know. We can also become conditioned by habit. When my family goes to the beach, we always go to the Core Brothers stand for a frozen custard because they make the best frozen custard in the world. I don't actually think a whole lot about frozen custard when I'm not at the beach, but I start craving it the minute I see the boardwalk, and probably not because I've suddenly developed a calcium deficiency. Relying on our cravings to guide our food choices also implies that we should make all of our food choices in the moment. And yet studies have shown that deciding what we're going to eat several hours before we eat it leads to better choices. Some proponents of intuitive eating also promise that being sufficiently attuned to our body's hunger and satiety signals will prevent us from overeating. Here again, although I think it's really valuable to cultivate more awareness of our physical hunger signals, I'm not sure it's a good idea to count on these signals alone. For example, you might want to check out my recent episode on how to know if you're really hungry. Dr. Brian Wansink and his colleagues at Cornell University have demonstrated that how much we eat before we start to feel full is strongly affected by things like how big our plates and utensils are, how much food is on the platter that we serve ourselves from, and how much the people around us are eating. And as Mark Schatzker argues in his recent book, The Dorito Effect, we are also surrounded by highly processed foods that have been deliberately engineered to trick us into craving and overeating things that are definitely not fulfilling our nutrient needs. I have some thoughts on how intuitive eating does fit in as a strategy for healthy eating and weight loss. But first, I want to take a quick break to thank Nordic Naturals, makers of high-quality nutritional supplements. Their best-selling Ultimate Omega is backed by clinical research showing the benefits of omega-3 fats to support the health of the heart, joint, brain, eyes, nervous system, mood, and immunity. Nordic Naturals applies high standards for quality, purity, and efficacy to every supplement they produce. Their award-winning products are not only proven pure and effective, they taste great. Check them out at nordicnaturals.com and use the promo code DIVA to get 15% off your order. That's nordicnaturals.com. I think there's definitely a place for intuitive eating. Developing self-awareness about your physical and emotional state and cultivating mindful eating habits can greatly enhance the quality of your diet as well as your enjoyment of the foods that you eat. We talked about mindful eating in my episode with sensory scientist Annette Hottenstein. And in the transcript for today's show, I have a link to a list of recommended books on mindful eating. But in the world we live in today, mindful or intuitive eating alone probably is not enough to keep us out of trouble. And I don't think we can rely entirely on our willpower either. Most of us will benefit by employing a variety of other cognitive and behavioral strategies, such as those I've outlined in previous episodes on how to control overeating, how to survive an unsupportive environment, how to use behavioral economics to improve your nutrition, and much more. And you can find links to all of these previous episodes in the transcript for today's show at nutritiondiva.quickanddirtytips.com, but here are a few of them. Keep tempting foods out of sight and the healthy options front and center. Avoid eating while watching TV or working at the computer. Choose those foods that deliver more satisfaction for fewer calories. Use smaller dinner plates and avoid bringing serving bowls or food containers to the table. Plan your meals and do the grocery shopping when you're not hungry or stressed. And focus on the foods that you'd like to eat more of rather than the foods that you're trying to avoid. And this last one, by the way, is a strategy that we make very good use of in my 30-day nutrition upgrade program, which is starting next week on September 6th. This is a fun group challenge that will help you upgrade your eating habits without requiring you to give up your favorite foods or avoid all your social plans or any other extreme measures. It's fun, it's forgiving, and the positive effects last for a lot longer than 30 days. You can get all the details at nutritionovereasy.com. And if you have comments or questions about intuitive eating, you can post them on our website or on the Nutrition Diva Facebook page. I'd love to hear from you. Thanks for listening and have a really great week.